Hi, everyone. This is Kevin Martin, Chief Research Officer at I4CP. We ran a survey recently of senior ranking HR leaders from more than 100 organizations with at least 1,000 employees from organizations around the world. One of the questions that we asked was, as they look to the next 1 to 3 years, what capabilities within the HR function will be most important? The second most popular answer was helping to shape the future vision of the organization. However, only 15% of that sample indicated that their function is highly effective at it right now. As your organization looks to shape its future vision of the organization and the organization itself, and as you are looking at reformulating your HR strategy, we encourage you to leverage what we know distinguishes high-performance organizations from the people side of their business equation. There are 5 core elements that distinguish these high-performance organizations, but the real secret is that the HR functions within those organizations have mastered the understanding of the intersectionality of these 5. None of these 5 will be new when you see them, but they are extremely powerful. These 5, when we run correlation analysis over a decade, you could see that statistically, they all drive or have significant influence on ultimate market performance. The real key here is this. The business leaders have traditionally only really focused on 2 of the 5. Markets, how aligned are we with where our customers are at and what the needs are, et cetera. Because when an organization is highly effective at it, as you can see in the white print, they are innovative. They drive satisfied, very loyal customers. They're also very focused on the strategy piece because they know that strategy execution is the key. Well, successful strategy execution is the outcome of high-performance organizations, but the strategy execution is highly dependent on 3 other areas. And these 3 other areas are the ones that over the last few years, if not decade, are the ones that your stakeholders, investors, board directors, even your consumers and employees have placed much greater weight on. That's your culture, your leaders, and your talent. The culture at high-performance organizations, the ultimate outcome and focus is around inclusivity and being change ready. The leaders, when they exemplify that, they drive a highly engaged, a highly aligned, and an overarchingly strong workforce when it comes to well-being as well, because of the culture that they create. The talent piece is all about capability when and where needed. But folks, it's the factors on the left of this equation, which we internally call the people profit chain, that have the greatest variability when it comes right now to strategy execution and ultimate market performance. The real criticality is the understanding not only of the intersectionality, but also in the revisiting of a certain set of questions that we know high-performance organizations in the HR function are regularly discussing and debating. Think about the market piece. What they're talking about is how quickly can they sense meaningful change, both internally and externally. Many organizations have listening strategies, and those are incredibly important. But how effective is the organization at taking employee sentiment or market data and converting that into actionable insights? Next is strategy. When a major shift in a market occurs, for instance, let's take the pandemic, which is the biggest shift in the market that any of us have experienced in our lifetimes. What is the change that's dictated in strategy? For most of you on this call, it's a change to a hybrid work model. To many of you, in addition to that, perhaps it's the acceleration of a digitization strategy that's been underway. But what are the primary barriers that your organization faces to executing its new strategy? We would say that most of those barriers are within your company's culture. And Peter Drucker would say it as well. As you know, strategy will eat your breakfast. Or excuse me, culture will eat your strategy for breakfast. Sorry, it's late my time today. But does your culture that you have now support your new strategy? Or does it dictate a change in culture in order to support and not impede that new strategy? What are the shifts in culture that are critical? And how will you know that those shifts are occurring? I'll give you an example. You're an organization that has moved from an on-site work model to a hybrid work model. From a culture standpoint, what are the shifts that need to occur in order to not create a culture, for instance, of haves versus have-nots? A lot of it has to do with the way leaders lead. Do your leaders, first and foremost, understand the criticality that when business strategy shifts and culture shifts, that the way they lead needs to also shift? Do they understand at all levels, leaders at all levels, what changes in the way they lead are going to be required to drive the culture that you need going forward? Importantly, for HR, do your reward systems, do your succession pipelines, do your promotion merits, your performance management processes, do they support the leaders that are leading the way you need them to lead going forward? Or are they supportive of only the leaders that led before the shift in strategy and culture? Are you tolerating behavior that is now countercultural? All of those matter a lot, and they get to whether your organization is going to walk the talk. From a talent perspective, when a shift in strategy occurs, and when you think about the forward-looking changes to the business, what changes in work are going to be required? What changes in job roles? All of those have commensurate shifts in skills and capabilities. Have you defined what those are yet? The sources of talent that your organization traditionally pulls from, are they the sources that are going to provide for you ample supply of capability and skills where and when you need them? Oh, by the way, if they are, or if you need to shift those talent sources, do those sources view your firm as a great place to work? In other words, what is your reputation? Do they even know who you are? That's all about your employer brand. On a regular basis, when HR discusses these and has mechanism to talk about what the insights are and what the actions they need to take are, it will help your organization demonstrably shape the future vision of the organization. As I had just alluded to, the real key here for HR is speed. Speed from sensing what's happening internally and externally to insight. What does that mean to us? To action of all the things that we could do or could stop doing. What are the things that would make the greatest impact? It's the consistency of asking those questions, of providing those, of being able to sense, to gain insights and convert into action that will help your organization shape the future vision and lead through this tumultuous time of continuous change and continuous disruption. Remember, the goal is not to manage change anymore, is to manage amid change and enable the organization to do so as well. Thanks for your time. I hope you find this helpful. Take care.